With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute updates on everything happening in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, and I give my thoughts on everything taking place around the National Football League today. And now, on with our feature presentation. August 31st, 2024. It's week 1 of a brand new college football season, and we've got an FBS versus FCS game on our hands between Iowa and Illinois State. No one in their right mind is expecting Illinois State to win this game, and understandably so. It's a guarantee game, and with 95% of the FBS against FCS games, the FBS team is expected to smoke the smaller school. But for Illinois State, they're looking to put up a way better showing than their last time playing an FBS school. 2 years before, they played Wisconsin in one of those guarantee games, and they lost 38-0 to the Badgers, unable to score any points, whether it be through the end zone or through the uprights. After a few disappointing seasons in a row for the Redbirds, a positive showing here would go a long way, especially against an opponent and a defense of Iowa's caliber. Like most Iowa games, the game goes exactly as you'd expect to start off. We're 29 minutes in, and it's 6-0 with 2 field goals and a crap ton of punts. So far, as is to be expected, Illinois State hasn't done a whole lot offensively, as their 7 drives have gone nowhere, with 4 straight drives ending in punts. However, with a minute left in the first half, Illinois State has the ball at their own 30-yard line following the kickoff. It's an interesting scenario, especially with Iowa only having 2 timeouts. You can run out the clock and keep it at a 1-score game, or you can go for it and try to cut into the deficit to get a field goal. On first down, Illinois State runs it, as Wankers Wright takes it for a gain of 6. Alright, so the plan seems to be to try and run for the first down and then go. And if not, it stays 6-0. I can live with this strategy. Second down, and it's another run for Wright. And this time, it picks up 4 yards and gets Illinois State down to the 40-yard line to move the chains and pick up the first down. Alright, now you can go. You've got the first down. You've basically ensured that Iowa can't touch the ball again, and you've got the field position. Now, with all your timeouts, you can score and get into field goal range with just a handful more yardage, and you can get on the board and you can cut the deficit in half, and you can... Why is the clock running? Why is the clock running? You have all your timeouts. You got the field position. You need to score points. Why are you not trying to score? Why is the clock running?
And Illinois State content, rather than to attempt a 2-minute drill, to just run the ball, pick up a first down, and let the final seconds go off.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of a college head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Illinois State head coach Brock Spack. I know that Spack has been there for a while, and he's going on over a decade and a half with the program. And even though the program has been pretty mediocre as of late, after being a playoff mainstay for a while at the FCS level, he's arguably the greatest coach in program history. But I don't get this call one bit. I don't get what the heck his logic was from a clock management perspective at the end of the first half. Was this the reason that Illinois State lost the game? Of course not. When you lose a game 40-0, I'm not going to sit here and say that if this was different, that the Redbirds win the game and pull off the upset, because Iowa scored a touchdown on every single drive they had in the second half, barring the final drive where they took a knee. But did this help their cause, especially with the score being 6-0 at the half? Definitely not. It definitely could have made the game a heck of a lot more interesting, I'll put it that way. So with that being said, let's take a look at why running out the clock at your own 40-yard line with 27 seconds left in the first half, when you don't get the ball to start the second half, and when you have all of your timeouts, is a really bad idea. As we all know, this Iowa defense is pretty good. Iowa having a good defense with this coaching staff is like the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. You just know it's going to happen. So any chance you have to take advantage of this defense, you've got to do it. And here, you've got the ball near midfield. You have not crossed Iowa's 40-yard line this entire contest. And if you get 2 more first downs, you can do it. Heck, if you get 1 more first down, you get into plus territory. This is some of your best field position of the day. So if it makes sense to capitalize on it, then you should absolutely try to do so. And here, I have no clue why it wouldn't make sense to try and capitalize on it. With 27 seconds left, your goal is to get points. I understand to some extent running out the clock before getting the first down, because the last thing you wanted to do is give Iowa the ball back should they get a 3 and out. And then, you could be down by 2 scores going into the halftime break without getting the ball to start things off. But once you get the first down, you've got to go. Your kicker doesn't have the strongest leg in the world, but you have to figure at the end of the first half, if you get to the 33-yard line to make it roughly a 50-yard try, you give yourself a chance. That means that you, with 3 timeouts, have to go 27 yards. That's more than doable. You've got about 5 plays to get 27 yards, and you can use the middle of the field to do so. Not only is this doable, seeing as you can use the entire field and you have time to work with, but the reward if this works out is very obvious. If you get that yardage and get 1 or 2 first downs, you can get some points before the half and cut it to a 3-point game. What's the risk? Honestly, there isn't any. I genuinely believe that there is not a single risk to trying to run plays here, especially with the field position you've got. We're going to break it down option by option and try and get inside the mind of Brock Spack just to show why this doesn't make sense. Let's say you throw 3 incomplete passes. Each play takes 5 seconds. So the first down play goes from 27 to 22 seconds. The second down play goes from 22 to 17. And the third down play goes from 17 to 12. Alright, in that case, you're punting it back to Iowa. A typical punt takes somewhere in the ballpark of 7 seconds. So Iowa's going to get it back in their own territory with 5 seconds left in the first half. Do you honestly think that Iowa's going to try and score? With 5 seconds left, do you honestly think that in their own territory, somewhere around their own 20-yard line after the punt, that Iowa is going to attempt a Hail Mary or something crazy? Of course not. They're just going to go into the half. Alright, so in that scenario where you throw 3 straight incomplete passes, Iowa gets the ball back, and they just take a knee. Let's say you try throwing the ball with 27 seconds left, and you get sacked, basically stalling the drive. Alright, guess what? You don't even have to give the ball back to Iowa because the clock is running, and Iowa only has 2 timeouts. If you take a bad play on first down, where you get sacked, and you decide at your own 30 facing 2nd and a mile with about 20 seconds left, that it's not worth it to try and get close enough for a field goal because it doesn't make sense, you can just take a knee or run the ball and bleed the clock. Even if Iowa calls a timeout after the sack, it's 2nd down, and the Hawkeyes have 1 timeout left. So do the math on that, and there's nothing that Iowa can do at that point. So if you try to go 27 yards in 5 plays and fail, the 2 things we have so far are that Iowa would either get it back with 5 seconds left and take a knee, or that Iowa wouldn't get the ball back at all. Really, the only risk here is that you turn the ball over. But you can't think like that in a situation like this. You can't play scared like that. If you're going to play scared in that spot, then why even play the game? And obviously, there are certain times you have to worry about turning the ball over, and you call the game that way. It is not a one-size-fits-all situation. But this applies to end-of-game situations where you're taking a knee, where you're guaranteed to score, and that's all you want to do, like a field goal down by 1 with no time left. Or that applies to situations where you have a guy who turns it over every other play. Or that applies to situations where you're pinned in your own end zone and don't have any breathing room whatsoever for a holding penalty or for a loss of yardage. That doesn't apply here. Not at midfield down by 6, when the only way this backfires on you is if you turn the ball over. The reward for going for something here, in a situation where you have all your timeouts, you have the whole field to work with, you have clock, you already got 1 first down, and where you only need a few more yards, relatively speaking, to get into scoring position, is that you get points in a game that you're trailing in, and you steal a possession since the opposition gets the ball back to start the second half. The risk is extremely minimal. In other words, barring a turnover, the risk is that you're trailing at the half 6-0. On the flip side, the reward for running out the clock is that you're trailing at the half 6-0. In other words, the likely worst case scenario in one option is the best case scenario in the other option. And if there is an option where the best case scenario is the same as the worst case scenario in the other option, then why choose that option? Take the option where you can actually get something out of it. Take the option where you can actually score, since at the end of the day, that is the objective of the contest. That's why we play the game, to win it and score more than the opposition. And obviously, I'm not making this video if they're at their own 20-yard line. I'm not making this video if it's not feasible, or if there might be some sort of field position risk if you don't get that first down and you give it back to the opposition with a chance for the opposition to do something. And I have no problem with how the drive started, with running the ball at the 30-yard line and killing clock to start off the drive just to make sure that Iowa couldn't get it back. But considering the field position, once you got the first down and had all that time to work with, it doesn't make any sense to not go. It really doesn't. Honestly, at that point, if you're just going to run out the clock, then why even run the ball to start? Seriously, what was the point? Why would you run the ball to start if that could be a turnover? Go no huddle, so clearly you wanted some urgency to get out of the playoff and get into scoring position, and then stop once you accomplish the first down objective. How does that make sense? With a minute left, if you take a kneel down 3 times, even if Iowa calls 2 timeouts, you're punting it back to them, and they've got it in their own territory with about 10 seconds left. So Iowa isn't doing anything. If you're not trying to score, then don't try to score. But if you're just trying to run out the clock from the start, then don't risk a turnover when you don't have to. That doesn't seem to make any sense if you're trying to accomplish the same objective of running out the clock and going into the half down 6-0, but you take the riskier path to do so. Like, I honestly don't get what Coach Spack's logic is here. Unless he thought Iowa had 3 timeouts for some reason, which they did not. And if he thought that, you could look at the scoreboard. We're going to try and run out the clock, so we're going to call plays that could potentially result in a fumble. But if we get yards and get a first down, we're not going to do anything with that? Either try and score or run out the clock. But trying to do both that to commit to multiple things at the same time with completely different objectives makes no sense to me, considering the field position, the time left in the game, and how many timeouts Illinois State had. And again, I am not saying that Illinois State wins this game if they try to do something here. They might not score, and at the end of the day, this game was 40-0. But maybe they get some points, and maybe they come out of the locker room a bit differently, down by 3 instead of down by 6. Who knows? What I do know is that this was stupid on the part of Coach Spack, because especially without a press conference or a statement, I genuinely don't know what his motive or his objective was here. So what's the moral of the story? If you have a realistic chance at scoring, then try and score, especially if you're trailing. If you're worried about the other team getting the ball back when there is no chance for them to get the ball back, then maybe you're worried about the wrong thing. If you don't trust your team to not turn it over, and that's the only reason you're legitimately concerned about doing something like this, then that's a huge indictment on you, especially when this is your team. If the best case scenario in one option is the same as the worst case scenario in the other option, then take the latter option so you can at least have a chance to do something positive. And if you're going to bypass a realistic option to get points when the name of the game is to score points, and you're going to do that against one of the best defenses in the country, then maybe you should rethink your entire strategy, because maybe the game has passed you by. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.